Hey everybody, I'm going to be talking about national characteristics starting with the British. This is what they gave to you on the internet. So the British, this is their list. You notice how many bases that they have here to start out with on each thing that you're going to get, and how many skirmishers, and then what special abilities. Then you have their valor, which is basically their motivation, and discipline, which is their skill. B is for brave, that's like fearless. C is for courageous, that's like confident. And then if you see an I, that's insecure, like reluctant, for flames of war. Discipline, E is for elite, that's like veteran. D is for discipline, like trained. And then if you see an R, that's raw, that's like a conscript. If you see a little question mark there, that means it's kind of like Romanians or Italians, where you're going to roll to see exactly what they do. Now for the British, they have some special abilities. Everybody has battle cavalry, and so I'll go over that another time, but the British have cold-blooded. Nobody else has that. Basically what they do is they get to repeat failed discipline tests at point-blank range, but they must be in a line. Doubtful dependability, you saw that on the question marks. You're going to roll a 1d6. 4 or less means that the force is insecure raw. 5 up means that they're courageous raw. So they're going to be raw no matter what, but they're not very good troops. Everybody has guards. Half batteries means you can split up your artillery into 2 batteries. Horse artillery. Impetuous, that's something that's British. These forces must break through after victorious charge. So when the cavalry breaks through, they blow up the force they charge into. They have to keep going and go after the next one. Line drilled means that they have to be in line in order to charge. And everybody has light infantry over strength. Sharpshooter, Germans have something called a Jager, which is similar to this. The Prussians, I should say. And I think the Austrians too, that you have a better chance of killing generals. And then the volley and charge. This is huge. You get to shoot at them. Remember, you've got that cold-blooded, so you get to do the point-blank shot, which gives you double shots on a defensive fire. But if they fall back because of defensive fire, you get a free charge on them. They cannot do a defensive fire, and basically you're just going to be stomping on their face. So the British make you suffer for failed charges. You get in on them, great. If not, you're in trouble. Now, if we're going to take a look at the list, but if you notice the regular line infantry, the British have the cold-blooded, volley charge, and line drilled. Pretty much everybody has line drilled, I think. But the British non-allied troops have the cold-blooded, volley charge, line drilled. And if you get the 95th Light Battalion, you'll be bold and elite, basically fearless vet. And same thing for the Guard. The Guard get the Guard special ability, and the 95th get the light infantry and sharpshooters. Also the Guard get overstrength, which helps you get back bases, recover bases as the game goes on. They have Jagers that you can get sharpshooters, but basically well-disciplined troops, except for those allied troops that are going to be insecure raw or confident raw. And so let's take a look at their force chart. Now, the infantry division that you can get for free, you can see aggressiveness at the top. That means that they are not aggressive. They're usually defender. In fact, the British are always defender because they have that special rule there at the top. Nobody else has that as far as I know. Then you have to have 2 infantry brigades, and then you can get these kinds of supports. You can get foot artillery, and each thing has its own requirement. And then reserves, you pretty much have anything that you want, but they don't start on the board, so that is a problem. So when we take a look at the British infantry, basically it's 100 points for each line infantry battalion. So each battalion has those 6 stands, and what they're going to call a force is this brigade. So you start off with 3 infantry battalions, and then they have 1 general that goes with them. And you have different options, like you can add a battalion, remove 1 battalion, change them to Highlanders, which basically makes them bold, change line infantry into light infantry, Guard infantry can be over strength for 30 more points. Guard infantry are very expensive, 250 per. The light infantry, this is the 95th light. You get 2 battalions of those and 1 of the light infantry. So you can see, and then on the reserve side, so it's 570 for the light infantry, 450 if you put them into reserve, so that you have a little bit of a discount, and you can add more forces, but you just can't start with them all on the board. So it adds to a lot of strategy in your army building of how you're going to do it. So then this is the cavalry brigade, but basically what you're doing with these guys is that you're setting up a nice infantry defense, if you can, and then bring in the cavalry later to charge and defeat your enemy. So these are the British forces, and I'm going to look at the other forces. I'm going to go a lot faster than I did with the British. The French are up next. They basically get Elan, which allows them to get a favorable Elan test when they charge. So for instance, if you have to roll a 4 up to charge and you fail it, you get to re-roll it. Also, they get, I mean, there's some things here for the old guard, like La Garde Recul, Le Mot Cambron, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, Très Maneuver. Basically, that allows them to failed discipline tests to perform complex new moves. Now, when I go over how things move, or I think I did, if they fail it, they get to re-roll it. Okay, and the best one is the bottom, Voltaires. Basically, instead of losing a regular base, you can lose a skirmisher. Nobody else can do that, which makes French infantry very hard to kill. And they get a whole bunch of things, you know, line infantry, light infantry, the usual, young guard, middle guard, old guard. So a vast array of forces for the French. Now the problem with the French, well, I mean, you've got the French infantry division, and then they give you a French light cavalry division, which is really cool if you are into cavalry. But you got to be careful of those guys. Now about their forces, if you notice, like the British, who are really good troops, they're 100 points for line infantry, whereas the French are like 120, 130 points per line, so they're even more expensive. So they are the most elite army in the game. So that's the French. They have lots of options on their stuff, so they're really good force to use. And that's it for the French.